Seeing signs of aging? Before you try drastic measures, try new Olay Regenerist. Now upgraded with triple collagen peptides, Olay targets a root cause of aging, weak cellular bonds, and strengthens them from within. 97% saw visible results. Firmer, lifted, more radiant skin. For dramatic results without drastic measures, there's new Olay Regenerist. Only Olay.
Today on Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton, are you giving your skin the care it deserves? From acne and dark spots to skin cancer risk, two leading experts break down the biggest concerns for skin of color. Plus, can your hairstyle and the chemicals you use predetermine your hair loss? One expert shares how to treat thinning edges, shedding, and the chronic condition, alopecia. And hear one woman's powerful journey in living with alopecia. After losing all of her hair, she chose confidence over fear, how her faith, family, and even diet helped transform her life. Also, are you getting enough sleep at night? We uncover the importance of sleep hygiene. Learn how some extra Z's can improve your overall health. Second Opinion starts right now. When it comes to skincare, one size does not fit all. Melanin-rich skin has unique needs, yet many African Americans and people with darker skin tones often struggle to find the right dermatologist, trusted information, or products designed with them actually in mind. From acne and hyperpigmentation to skin cancer detection, these are important conversations we need to be having. Joining me now to uncover some of the biggest skin concerns for darker skinned individuals are Dr. Hope Mitchell, board-certified dermatologist, and Dr. Rolanda Johnson Wilkerson, who is the principal scientist and scientific communications leader for Procter & Gamble. Thank you, doctors, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is a conversation I've been looking forward to because I feel like this is a free consultation. So, Dr. Mitchell, let's start with you. When we talk about skin of color, what are the top 3 concerns you see most often amongst your patients?
Sure. I would say the top concerns are pigmentary disorders. And one of the most common pigmentary disorders would be what we call PIH, or post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. And this type of pigmentation or mark is left behind after common concerns like acne or even an insect bite. The other common concern that I see in my clinical practice would be hair and scalp disorders. Hair loss tends to be a very, very common concern in our community, as well as scalp disorders like seborrhea, which is a form of dandruff. It drives a lot of people into the office because it's a condition that can cause quite a bit of anxiety in our community, to the point where there's a lot of itching and flaking, etc. And sometimes it can be associated with hair shedding. The third common disorder that I see or concern would be concerns of inflammation like acne or even eczema. I also commonly see a condition called hidradenitis suppurativa, which is commonly known as HS. And that condition is one where we can get boils or cysts under the armpits, sometimes in the groin area, and even under the breast.
And thinking about the boils and the cysts, it makes me think about keloids. You know, what specific issues tend to show up more often in African American skin, whether it's hyperpigmentation, eczema, keloids, or acne? And why is it that I feel like more prevalent in our skin versus other races?
Well, to be honest, if you would have said I had 4 options, I would have said keloids. Keloids is actually very common in our community as well. These are conditions that are common. You know, if we were able to unpack each condition, we would have a better idea as to why they're common in the Black community. But if we were to take, for example, one of the most common concerns, pigmentary concerns, a lot of it extends from I would say skin damage from unprotected skin. So a lot of us still are not wearing sunscreen to protect our skin from damage. And I'm sure we'll go into the reason in just a moment. But that is a condition that's very, very common. And we know that that is directly linked to the lack of protection from ultraviolet light. A lot of us believe that we can't have skin damage because we are more melanated or we have darker skin tones. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. And that brings up, my next point was that there is this misconception that darker skin doesn't get things like skin cancer, for instance, right? How does skin cancer present differently for those who are, with melanin-rich skin? And what should people be looking out for to, I don't know, the early signs that, hey, you actually do have skin cancer?
Well, I'm just going to start with a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Skin cancer killed Bob Marley, right? And his cancer was on his toe. And so very commonly, the most common and most deadliest form of skin cancer in Black people would be melanoma. And that can occur where the sun doesn't hit the skin. So palms and soles, the groin, underneath the nail, those are the common areas for melanoma, which we call acrolentiginous melanoma in Black people. And so that's an area where if we're not educated, or if our primary care physicians are not sensitive to that knowledge, we may not ever come across that fact until it may be late. So that's a very common location where we can find that form of skin cancer.
And when you speak of melanoma in the nails, is it when you see that black spot under the nail?
You can see a black spot. You can see a linear line. Sometimes that's a normal variant, meaning that we can see that in people with skin of color, but it certainly is something that should drive us to the doctor to get it checked out.
And what are some basic, if someone's listening now and they're like, I never put on sunscreen because I am, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I have the melanin. I don't need the sunscreen. What would you say to them in this moment? Why SPF is essential for darker skin? And what are some basic routines that melanin-rich skin people can actually do to make sure that we're protecting ourselves every day?
So the first thing that I would say is Black does crack eventually, right? And what we mean by that is that maybe it will take longer for you to see the signs of skin aging than our Caucasian counterparts, but they are coming. So if we're not protecting our skin, we're going to see earlier concerns such as uneven skin tone, dark spots, hyperpigmentation, even loss of elasticity and sagging of the skin, because ultraviolet light can do damage deeper in the skin. It can disrupt collagen, which keeps the firmness of the skin. And it can cause, as I've said maybe 3 times already, it can cause what we in our community dislike, and that is an uneven skin tone. So I recommend everyone, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of skin tone, regardless of melanin color, that you use sunscreen. We recommend an SPF between 30 and 50. You can apply it through your moisturizer. If you're out recreationally, meaning longer periods of the day, it's important that it be reapplied. We now have clothing that has sunscreen in it, makes it very convenient, especially if you're hiking or if you're out for longer periods of time. Of course, wide brimmed hats are important. And then we can't forget the importance of seeking shade even when you're out. So umbrellas or awnings or trees, any way that you can find shade to help the skin is going to be important.
And when people are looking for these, sunscreens, you see on TikTok, get this one, don't get that one. Are there any certain ingredients that people with darker skin should look for or avoid when choosing products, or people in general for that matter? Are there certain ingredients that you say, hey, if you see this, let's try to avoid that sunscreen?
Well, what I will say is today is a time where there are many, many sunscreens that we can choose from. In the past, we were all concerned about the white cast, looking like a ghost, and we no longer have to be concerned about that. We can look for sunscreens that are chemical sunscreens or mineral-based sunscreens, meaning mineral would have ingredients such as zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, which are better products for people with melasma, a form of hyperpigmentation. I always say the best sunscreen is the sunscreen that you will consistently wear. And so start out by finding a sunscreen that blends into your skin tone, that can protect you throughout the day, I think is what's most important as you start that journey.
Okay. And Dr. Wilkerson, I want to bring you into this conversation. You know, you're the principal scientist and a scientific communications leader for Procter & Gamble. How can science help better address the unique skincare needs and concerns of people with darker skin tones?
I love this question. Dr. Hope mentioned several conditions that highly melanated people experience from a skincare perspective and even scalp care. Well, science helped to enable that understanding, and it plays a critical role in recognizing and addressing the unique physiology of those with melanin-rich skin. We might have a different response to external environmental factors, irritation, and even certain internal factors that we might have genetically. Science helps us to understand that. Historically, a lot of skincare products were formulated and even tested primarily on lighter skin, and that led to gaps in efficacy and even safety for people that had darker skin tones. Dr. Hope mentioned that's changed over time, and now we have products and formulations and science that it's able to help better meet our needs. Our scientists, for example, at Olay have studied multi-ethnic skin, and through those studies, we determined that highly melanated, even African ancestry people have an exceptional gene that allows our skin to age differently from other ethnicities. And so with that understanding, we know things like what Dr. Hope mentioned, where we might not necessarily be immediately concerned with fine lines and wrinkles, but there is the aging concern of uneven skin tone, as well as texture changes on the skin. Knowing that helps to identify the right ingredients and look at advances in skin biology and different technologies to better allow us to understand how we can meet unique needs for highly pigmented consumers and patients.
All right. You know, and there's a growing demand for Black dermatologists and culturally competent care. In your opinion, why is that demand so high right now? Is there something going on with this new generation? Is it social media and exposure? But what's making us say, hey, we want products that actually reflect, you know, what's best for our melanin-rich skin. And we also want Black dermatologists and scientists to start to invest in our community more. What's changed?
So I believe you touched on a big driver, and that's the awareness of new products, the awareness of science, and the awareness of dermatologists in social media. And so the rising demand for Black dermatologists, it also reflects a broader need and awareness of the opportunities in our healthcare system, because Black dermatologists, I like to say, are kind of far and few. In terms of where I'm located, there's one Black dermatologist, and I happen to be in a major city, is what I would call it. Many patients want providers, dermatologists who understand their unique needs of their skin, as well as bring a cultural context firsthand. And that helps to build trust, as well as, I believe, improve health outcomes too. Black dermatologists also bring a nuanced perspective to diagnosing and treating skin conditions that may present differently for melanin-rich skin. And then, not to mention, you have that culturally competent care. That means acknowledging and respecting that patient's experiences, their habits and practices as we talk about it, as well as their beauty standards. Dr. Hope talked about having a SPF product that feels good on the skin, that looks good on the skin. And oftentimes we talk to consumers to understand what that looks like for them. Over time, that's changed, right? And we want to make sure that we are meeting multiple skin tone needs from the lightest to the darkest for our Black patients and consumers.
Yeah. You know, and Dr. Mitchell, and speaking of the doctor-patient relationship, what are some of the questions that you would tell the viewer? Say, hey, if you're in with your primary care physician or your dermatologist, if you're fortunate to have a dermatologist, what questions should they be asking as it pertains to their skin routine, their cancer risk, and what they should be doing to minimize that?
Well, I think, come to the appointment, be clear about your expectations, be clear about the questions that you have when you're talking to the dermatologist, regardless if it's their race concordance or not. Come prepared, know the questions that you have. Definitely, if there's not racial concordance, asking the dermatologist if they are competent or if they feel comfortable is a better word, treating the concern that you may have, or have you treated other patients with similar concerns? Have you seen this before? The treatment that may be initiated, how will this affect my hairstyling practices or my skin regimen? Or are there any risks for pigmentation or hair loss with this treatment? And then last but not least, if you're not happy with, or you're concerned, or you just don't feel 100% about the vibe that you're getting, then get a second opinion. You're not being difficult when you get a second opinion. You're just doing what you believe is medically necessary to advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And Dr. Wilkerson, there's many parents who are listening to this right now. They're saying, hey, I also want to try to advocate, not for myself, but also for my teenagers, right? Who are going through changing hormones, breakouts, self-esteem struggles. What advice do you have for parents who are managing teen skin and acne? Should they continue with over-the-counter medications and over-the-counter kind of products? When should that shift to say, now you may need to see actually a dermatologist for treatment?
Well, this hits home for me. As Dr. Mitchell knows, I have a teenager, one that's 13, well, actually 14, and then one soon to be 13. So I'll have two teenage boys in the home, one who's actually experiencing those skin changes right now, and the other we're starting to see. A couple of things that I impressed upon them initially, and this is for all parents of teenagers who might be experiencing hormone changes and then as a result, acne. Cleansing is so very important. It's a baseline for your skin. You want to start off with a good cleanser, and then also you want to start off cleansing effectively. I literally had to show my teenage son, here's how you clean your face properly, right? So that's first and foremost. Secondly is incorporating something like a salicylic acid cleanser that's going to address some of the bacteria on the skin that's really driven by the hormone changes in the acne that occurs on the skin. First and foremost, cleansing, and then you might want to introduce a leave-on treatment that has a salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide ingredient in the product. If they're not seeing it resolve, this is where I would recommend going in and seeing a dermatologist. The other piece I recommend is keep your hands out of your face. Mm-hmm. My son continuously, when you see something, you touch it, something that's different and new on the face, but that actually makes it worse. It introduces more bacteria. And then some teens get into the realm of picking at their skin, which then results in acne hyperpigmentation. There can also be acne hyperpigmentation without picking at the skin. This is where you want to make sure you're incorporating an SPF product too, because sun protection is key, especially when the skin is more hyperpigmented and can be inflamed. Again, if those symptoms are not resolved by what you're doing with the kind of minimal introducing effective cleansing, incorporating a leave-on treatment that addresses the acne, I would definitely recommend to see a dermatologist.
SPF, SPF, SPF. If nothing more, that's what right. So thank you, Drs. Mitchell and Dr. Wilkerson. Thank you for reminding us that caring for melanin-rich skin requires both science and representation, and that everyone deserves skincare that truly works for them. So SPF, folks.
SPF.
SPF.
Thank you. Thank you. And coming up next, could your hairstyle be contributing to hair loss? From thinning edges, shedding, and/or traction alopecia? When is hair loss a warning sign? We're breaking down the causes of alopecia and the options available for women looking for answers. Don't go away.
Folks, let me be real with y'all. If you are on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no stranger to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that as well. No games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes with a real person, completely free. So give Chapter a call, 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust.
Hair loss can be emotional, isolating, and for many women, especially Black women, is a conversation that often goes unspoken. But from medical hair loss conditions like alopecia to protective styling concerns and treatment options, there is hope and there is help. Joining us now is Yvette Morrison, a certified cranioprosthesis specialist, cosmetologist, educator, and founder of Aventa's Hair Center. Thank you for being here, Yvette.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Hilton. It's a pleasure.
Listen, I know there's so many people who are looking forward to this conversation. So let's just start with the basics. Many people hear the word alopecia, but may not understand exactly what does that mean. Can you explain what alopecia is and the different types people should know about?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So alopecia is basically the medical term for hair loss. And it's broken up into two categories. So you have non-scarring alopecia and you have scarring alopecia. So I'm going to start off with first some of the names of the non-scarring alopecia, okay? So first you have androgenetic alopecia. You have telogen effluvium alopecia, and you have alopecia areata. And then for the scarring alopecia, you have centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, which is CCCA. You also have LPP, which is lichen planopilaris. And then you also have FFA, which is frontal fibrosing alopecia.
And when you mention scarring alopecia, for those who haven't dealt with this condition, does that mean that the skin actually scars down? What's the difference in those two, scarring and non-scarring?
Okay, so with non-scarring alopecia, basically the follicle is not damaged. So if you have hair loss, the hair can grow back. When you have scarring alopecia, basically scar tissue forms around the hair follicle. So that causes total destruction to the follicle on a stem cell level.
Yeah. And what are some early warning signs people may be experiencing hair loss beyond what they may think is just typical normal shedding in the shower?
Okay. So it would be, for one, if you see your part in the crown area starting to wide, that is a sign. If you notice your density is starting to decrease, you notice, like, let's say if you wear a ponytail and the ponytail seems like it's less hair, it seems thinner. Those are the signs. Thinning in the temple area and just diffused hair loss all over.
And for, I just had a set of twins. I often have told people are telling me, get ready, like you're going to lose your hair in 3 to 4 months, right? And I haven't lost it so far. Is it true that you will have some hair loss associated with pregnancy and after the birth of your children?
Well, it depends on the person. Due to hormonal issues. Now, myself, and I'm just going to give myself as an example, my hair grew beautiful and I didn't lose my hair afterwards. And I would say one of the main things is to keep taking the prenatal vitamins. But also I've had clients that came in and after pregnancy, we notice a significant change in the hair. So I would say it depends on the individual. But a lot of times, some people do lose hair during pregnancy and afterwards due to hormonal changes.
And as a certified cranioprosthesis specialist, for one, what is that exactly? How do you help people navigate hair loss solutions?
Okay, well, cranioprosthesis is basically a medical grade wig. And the beautiful thing about the medical grade heads of hair or wigs, I like to say heads of hair. Sometimes people don't like this hair wig, but you can customize it as far as doing highlights, coloring it. It is customized to your exact fit. It is more sensitive to the head or the scalp. As far as irritations, pardon me. And that's it that I can think of.
And what are you, in your
natural? I forgot. Natural in appearance, very natural.
Natural appearance.
Yes, it can look just like the scalp. And there's so many technologies. You have some that look like skin. You have some that are made with French lace or silk, and it looks just like hair strands growing out of the scalp.
And
So,
where do you find those prosthetics? Are
okay,
they
so
at a beauty store, or where do you find those?
No, we have to specially order them. So those are custom made overseas from hair factories.
And are there?
Sometimes, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say sometimes they can take with customization. Sometimes if they have hair in stock that fits similar measurements that you might have, you can get it right away. But a lot of times it takes anywhere between 2 to 3 months because each strand is hand tied. So that's what makes it look like it's hair growing out of a follicle. That's what gives it a natural appearance, and you can part it all throughout the actual system.
And when you think about your clients or just people in general, are there common mistakes that people make that may unknowingly damage their scalp or their hair follicles that you would advise them, hey, just don't do these 2 or 3 things?
Yes, I'm gonna be honest, girl. I see it all on YouTube. And people tend to think because it's a nice style, oh, I gotta have that. This stylist is doing this the right way. And I have like 30 years of experience. So more of the seasoned stylists can look and be like, oh my God, what are they doing? And I'll give a quick example. Like a lot of times you see the ladies do the lace front wigs, right? And they're actually putting on the glue. Then they put on layer, I'm gonna put some gel, then I'm gonna put some spreads, then I'm gonna put a stocking cap on top, then I'm gonna put the wig on top. And you have to remember the skin is the largest organ of the body. It needs air. So you're covering up all of this, and that's one of the main reasons of hair loss, because the follicle is clogged. It's not able to breathe. You know, it's like putting blankets all over your face.
Right.
And you're not getting air. So that is one of the things that I don't like. I don't really care for improper practices. Also, a lot of tight styles, like the weaves, the braids. It causes traction alopecia. And a lot of times, a lot of people that do braids, pardon me, they don't understand. They're just braiding. Let me pull tighter. They don't understand the correct practice. If you're going to do the weaves and the braids, it has to be done correctly.
Even hearing the pulling makes my head hurt.
Yes. Sometimes they're pulling, you see the bumps.
Right.
Or it hurts.
Yeah.
Afterwards, it's just too tight. And then when you take the hair out, a lot of times with the braids, have you ever saw when the braids are taken out, you might see the little bulb where the hair just came all the way out?
No.
I've actually seen that. And sometimes I see it on little children. too. I used to see it with the braids, and you can see it just pulling. It's
Right.
just, it's too
It's
tight.
too much.
So, and then the improper chemical relaxant. I know your hair is straight. Is your hair natural? I just, it's
Yeah.
natural. But let me ask you
If
a
I
question.
can get it, and for the record, if I can get it to curl, if you have any options out there, the girl, I'm listening.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. But I want to tell you, I want to ask you this question. Now, have you ever got a relaxant before?
No.
Okay, so back in the day now, I've been a stylist for 30 years, on 30 plus years, right? And one of the mistakes that stylists used to always ask clients, just let me know when it's burning, I'll take the relaxer
Oh
off.
no.
Ooh, that's one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah.
Okay, because the relaxers are supposed to be timed based on the coarseness of the hair or the thickness of the hair. So if the hair is fine, then it's less time. It might be 15 minutes processing time. If the thickness is medium, the density, if it's medium, then you would process it for 20 minutes. If it's coarse, then you would process it for, pardon me, the diameter of the hair shaft. If it's coarse, then it processes for 25 minutes. A lot of people think, okay, I'm just going to leave it on until it's burning and then take it off. So if you have hair that is fine in diameter, but you left it on for 25 minutes, you not only damage the scalp, you over process the hair as
Oh,
well. So
yes.
those are some of the factors with cicatricial alopecia as well.
Well, if someone's listening now and they're saying, okay, what's the other end of the spectrum? You know, these are things we should not do. What are some important daily or weekly habits that people should adopt to maintain a healthy scalp and prevent kind of that long-term damage?
Well, I would definitely say shampooing more frequently. Uh, a lot of times we don't shampoo frequently, and it causes buildup on the scalp. And when you have buildup on the scalp, it clogs the follicle, and it also causes inflammation, which can lead to damage of the follicle. So I would say more frequent shampooing, doing treatments more consistently, uh, rotating your protein treatments, your moisturizing treatments, and even your bonders that strengthen the hair from the inner layer out, strengthening that cortex.
The bonders. You know, I can say one thing for me has been hydration, hydration, hydration. I think after
Yes.
having the twins, I drink so much water for, for breastfeeding that my hair has just like soaked up the water. So, and there's growing conversation about certain styles potentially contributing to hair loss. So what should people know about protective styling, braids, weaves? How can they maintain a healthy hair, especially during the summertime? No
Okay.
one feels like doing their hair all the time, right?
Yeah.
So what are the options that there are for them to kind of live and have healthy hair?
Well, I have clients that get protective styles. My daughter, who's here at the hair center, she does protective styles. And one of the key things is you want to make sure that when you're doing a protective style, when you take it down, you must treat the hair. A lot of times we get protective styles and we take it down and shampoo it, put it right back in. We don't do conditioning as far as moisturizing treatments, protein treatments, our bonders, and sometimes your hair needs a break in between the protective styles. It needs air, it needs sunlight. So that's important, making sure that it's not too tight. If you have a weave, make sure that you come into the salon and get it shampooed in between, like every 2 weeks. A lot of times people leave the weave in for 2.5 months, 3 months, and they don't shampoo. And when they take the weave out, it's so much buildup that's on the scalp. And that's another factor that causes hair loss and inflammation, that buildup that's on the scalp. So you have to come in, you have to get your hair shampooed, and also you need to come in and let your stylist look at the weave. When she's shampooing and maintaining that hair, when you're coming in for regular maintenance, they're going to look at or they should, at least, I know I do. I will look at the weave and see, okay, we need to tighten up some tracks here. This is loose, or it's time for this weave to come out. Because if the hair is loose, you're doing it at home, you're not coming in for your maintenance. When you're constantly pulling on that loose track, it's pulling the hair. It's going to cause breakage.
Now, there may be someone listening right now that says, okay, I'm doing that. I'm kind of taking breaks in between my protective style. I'm shampooing my hair. But you mentioned a word, you said bonders. Now, they may say, now, what does she mean? What is a bonder? And how does that heal my hair from the inside out?
Okay, so bonders, you have to go to the salon to get a bonder done. That's one. You must come in. I use the Olaplex as my bonder. And the bonders, they're different from a conditioner because they are strengthening the hair, the bonds of the hair. So that is the difference with a bonder versus a regular conditioner or protein treatment, which you just it's just strengthening. The bonders, you can actually put a bonder in your lightener surface and take that hair up all the way to a light blonde, and it won't break. That's how strong the bonders are. Or the hair can be at the point where it's just about to break from a lightening surface. And when you apply the bonder afterwards, it can actually strengthen that hair where it does not snap and break. You cannot do that with a regular protein treatment. You can't do it with a moisturizing treatment. Actually, every time before I even do a chemical service, I like to do bonders just to strengthen that hair and make sure it's able to even take the service.
Well, Miss Yvette, you have told us so much, and you're from Aventus Hair Center. If people are looking and they say, hey, I need a prosthesis, or I just need some advice as to how to make my hair and my scalp as healthy as possible, where can they find you, either on social media or at your hair center?
Yes. And if I can add this real quick, I am getting ready to be certified as a trichologist. That's why I know so much. So I'll be graduating in June as a trichologist. I just wanted to add that real quick. But I am
people what a trichologist is.
Basically, what we do is we treat the hair and the scalp. So we work with dermatologists like you. So we work with dermatologists, we work with rheumatologists, oncologists to help people that are experiencing hair loss. We look at the scalp and under the hair under the microscope. We measure the density. We're able to track inflammation. So all of that we're able to do. And we also do detoxifying treatments. So that's what I do. Detoxifying, infrared, laser therapy, which actually helps to restore the hair. And I'm located at 8641 Doris Road, Suite 150C in Douglasville, Georgia. Pardon me, Douglasville, Georgia.
Douglasville, Georgia. This is science, folks. Go get your scalp. Again, your scalp, your skin is the largest organ of your entire body. Treat it well, and it'll treat you well. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And coming up next, what happens when you lose all of your hair, but find yourself in the process? One woman shares her personal alopecia journey and how she's turning pain into her power. Stay with us.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Alopecia is more than hair loss. It can be a deep personal journey that impacts a woman's identity, confidence, and everyday life. But it can also be a story of resilience and empowerment. Joining us now is Nasha Snipes, a wife, mother, and alopecia warrior who has courageously embraced her journey after losing her hair. Nasha, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Oh, thank you for having me today.
Yeah. Now, when did you first start noticing something changing with your hair? What was going through your mind at that time of your life?
So it was about 2012, I think, and I noticed that there was a spot like around the nape of my neck. I was natural at the time. I was wearing two-strand twists, so I was thinking maybe I was twisting it too tight. So I switched, hairstyles, and I was asking my stylist. I was like, "Do you notice this?" And she was like, "That's different." But we really didn't put that much emphasis on it because I could hide it because my hair was so long. So I just wore it back, and I stopped doing the two-strand because I thought maybe I was pulling the nape a little too much.
And when you eventually lost all of your hair, how long did that take, that process?
Probably about 2 years. What happened was after I noticed like the spot in the back of my head, I noticed that the shower kept getting clogged. And I didn't understand why. And then I started notice that my hair was shedding more, but it was still, long. So it was just getting thinner. And then I started getting more like bald spots. So it was just like little patches in the back of my head.
In the back of your head. And what was that emotionally for you as you're seeing like, okay, I'm noticing these small changes? Were you able to keep up emotionally since it was a gradual over 2 years, or did it still come as a complete kind of shock?
It came as a shock because in my mind, I thought it would grow back quickly. So I've always sort of like looked at my diet. I'm big on nutrition. I'm big on like nutrients and everything. It took me forever to get a doctor's appointment, right? So it was like a year before I actually noticed what was going on until I was actually to get in with the dermatologist. And then they diagnosed it as like alopecia. And it seemed like once I got that diagnosis, everything sort of like, it was a roller coaster effect. Everything just like sped up 10x. To sort of gain control of that, what I did was I did the big chop.
And when you say everything sped up, what does that mean exactly?
So it went from just being like a couple of spots like in the back of my head to I started noticing like around my temples, just in different spots. I would just get like little clumps of hair coming out. So what I did was I cut all my hair off. So that way, again, so I could have control. My husband always likes to make a joke. He says he went to bed with Beyonce and woke up with Janet.
Okay.
But that was just a way of me sort of like gaining control of the situation and then actually seeing like what was happening. Because my hair was longer, I could always like cover it up with a ponytail, put a part on the side to swoop it one way or the other, or, the braids would hide the patches, or I could pull everything to one side and then just have it like covering what was going on in the back. This way I sort of like had control over what was actually going on.
Yeah. And when you did the big chop and now you have gone, emotionally, you've gone from one version of yourself to another version of yourself. How did you, I guess, not even, I don't know if cope is the right word, but how did you emotionally deal with that transition, especially the first time that you showed up in public from saying, hey, I have long hair that I can pull back into a ponytail, to now I'm having the big chop, not necessarily because I want to do the big chop, but because I feel like I need to do the big chop?
Well, honestly, at that time, I was probably still more in denial because I had always been that person. So for me to cut off my hair and just like overnight, it wasn't like out of my personality, like that's sort of like in my wheelhouse. What wasn't, or what isn't in my wheelhouse, was that I couldn't really control or dictate it growing back. So at that point, it was like, oh, okay, I cut my hair. That's fine. I still got it. Like, we're fine. I've done short hair before, senior year in high school. I cut all my hair off and it grew back. So, it'll do it again. But it didn't.
And along that journey, did you make changes? Were you doing different things as far as diet, lifestyle? Was there anything that you have even continued to do to kind of help with your wellness journey?
Oh, I was doing all the things, just making sure I was staying hydrated with the water. One of the main things was iron. I found out that my iron level was severely low. As a matter of fact, the doctor was asking, she was like, you really shouldn't be walking. She was like, so what this means is that you've been dangerously low for a long time and your body's just been able to compensate. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. So making sure that my iron levels are up to par, making sure that my vitamin D is up to par, and then actually making sure that it's right for me. Because with me, my vitamin D levels have to run a little bit higher than what's normal. And that's what sort of like sustains me. So it's not like anything off the charts, but it's just more in the higher range of that like median that we have for, like normal vitamin D, normal iron levels, right? So really looking at things like that.
And how did you discover that your vitamin D level needed to be on the higher end of normal? What were the symptoms, or what were the conversations that you had with your doctor?
So I was working with a naturopath at the time, and this was after I did the big chop. My hair started growing back. I started seeing regrowth, and it happened when the vitamin D was on the higher side. I still had spots in different places, but overall, the hair that was growing was getting a lot longer. So it was like, oh, okay. And then I went back to my general practitioner, and they're like, whoa, you need to cut back on the vitamin D. So I was like, oh, okay. So I did, and it was like, my hair was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh,
okay.
Got it.
I mean, and that's where we say, you have to listen to your body. There's standardization that's across the board, but our bodies are ultimately the indicator as to what we kind of need. Now, for many women, hair is tied to identity, femininity, even confidence. And I know you're a mother raising a daughter, correct?
Yes.
What conversations have you had with her about beauty, images, and hair and confidence just in general?
So I think it's really how they say, it's not so much the conversations, it's how you live your life. So we really haven't had any verbal conversations about it. I did ask them, I think like when they were younger, just tried to see around them like how they felt, because I look very different from, what the Barbie dolls look like, what the standard of beauty was like, especially like in 2008, 2010, right? But in the same time, it was still like walking, talking, acting. Even I forgot I didn't have hair until I looked in the mirror, The biggest indicator was just like it's cold outside, my temperature, it's harder for me to regulate my temperature because there's nothing covering my head. And you lose a lot of heat through your head. So saying all that to say, with my daughter, it was more of being yourself, being unique, and being beautiful in whatever state that you're in.
In every state that you're in. And with you going through this journey, does anyone else in your family have alopecia? Are you the first to experience this? And if so, how did your family kind of support you through this journey? Because I'm sure there's many women and men, who have alopecia that are probably saying like, hey, I am the only one. And the emotional journey that you have to go through to get to that space that you are in where you're confident and you know that you're beautiful. How did you get there, and how did your family help support you through that?
So that's a very interesting story. So when I first presented myself as this, I was at my grandparents' house. We have dinner at my grandparents' house. I'm from South Carolina, born and raised, and walked in the house, and my granddad was like, "Nasha, you look like a little boy. What you doing?"
Oh, okay, Grandpa.
Yes. I was like, granddad, I have like alopecia. He's like, what? Like what? I was like, I have no hair. So you cut your hair off? I was like, no, it's not growing anymore. And he's like, oh, okay. And so it took him a minute to process, right? My dad was like, so is this a new hairstyle now? Is this you? And I was like, oh no, I have alopecia. And he's like, oh, okay, you all right? Is everything okay? And I was like, no, right now I can't find like an underlying medical condition. It's just, probably stress related, something like that. We're trying to figure it out. He's like, all right. So to say that it was different. I had, as far as family, it was just like trying to explain what was really going on. Friends are very supportive. And you always get the whole thing, oh, but you're beautiful. You're like, oh, if I had a bald head, I would want to look like you, or I don't know if I could pull that off, It was just my cross to carry. Wow. My cross to carry, right? And out of all the things, it is hair loss. It wasn't tied to another condition. So being grateful in those moments, like I could be dealing with some other underlying condition that could cause this.
Right.
My thing was just, loss of control. That's the huge part of it.
Yeah, I can imagine being my personality and not being in control and feeling like I'm doing everything right and it's still not going where I want it to go.
Yes.
I can see that can be frustrating. I'm from South Carolina too, so I know exactly. We're a different kind of people. Right. And you mentioned your grandfather. You mentioned your dad. How about your husband? How has he been during this process of being able to say, I'm sure he also wants to protect you, and to see you saying, hey, I feel like I'm out of control. It probably was an emotional, I'm assuming it was an emotional thing for him to go through too, to say, this is my wife, and how do I help her through this journey as she's discovering herself in all versions of herself?
Just supportive, like looking at different therapies. At one point I had looked into doing like the tattooing where they sort of like tattoo your scalp and everything like that. So going through that research with me, if we were going to come through with it, looking at the budgeting to make sure that we could finance it. When I got all my hair cut off, like I used a barber friend of his. When I actually did the shaving part of it, he bought me clippers instead of me using his all the time. He got me my own.
Listen, we share these. We share.
Right. And then he taught me how to shave properly because I was going, I guess, with the grain instead of against the grain, so I could get a closer look. Yeah. So
that's a good man, Savannah. Right.
It's a good man, Savannah.
And before we go, what's one message you would want women who are living with alopecia to hear today? If they are just now finding that one spot in the back of their nape, what would you want to tell them about, the process of what you went through years ago to where you are now?
Take one day at a time. Every day is not going to be jovial. Some days you will feel defeated, but it's not the end of the journey. I'm still on the journey. Like, I don't know what the end is for me. This is where I am now. And it's just being grateful where you are and being unapologetic about where you are. Like, if you're having a bad day, have a bad day. If it was cold in the house, I would have something on my head. Trust me,
Right.
But just being where you are and being comfortable in your skin, whatever that is for you.
Well, Nasha, thank you for turning your story into a source of hope for not only, like I said, so many women and men who are also losing their hair and maybe trying to find their way. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And still to come, how much sleep did you actually get last night? If it was less than 8 hours, then you may need to get to counting some sheep. We'll explain why next.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Rolanda Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown, Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Sleep is important, but many of us aren't getting enough of it. Poor sleep can affect everything from our mood and memory to heart health and immunity. Joining us now is Dr. Yolanda Coleman, chief nurse, to help us understand the power of sleep hygiene and how small changes can lead to big improvements in our health. Dr. Coleman, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's start with the basics. When we say sleep hygiene, some people are thinking, oh, that means shower before I go to sleep. What exactly does sleep hygiene actually mean?
So sleep hygiene is actually your daily habits, behaviors, and environmental conditions that help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake rested and restored.
Mm. And why is quality sleep just as important? Some say as important as your diet and exercise as it comes to your overall health.
Yes, so it's important that you maintain a regular sleep schedule to help improve your physical health, to help improve your mental well-being, your daytime performance, and also your long-term disease prevention. So it's important that you have a schedule for sleep, you try to maintain it, and you look at environmental factors that may be affecting your sleep, such as lighting, electronic device utilization before sleep, loud noises. And studies have also shown that cooler temperatures, degrees between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, tend to help with sleep conditions.
So I shouldn't be sleeping with my heating pad. That's good to know. What happens to the body when we consistently do not get enough sleep? Like what actually triggers in our body that causes these health conditions?
So your body can actually be affected with a lack of mental cognitive function. So you can have issues with your memory, your focus. You can have chronic diseases. You can also see issues with memory function and also increase in accidents. One of the things that the CDC has said that the US adults only get about a third of what they need to get for sleep. And most adults get way less than 7 hours of sleep. And the CDC states that 7 hours of sleep will be about what you need to get to function appropriately. So when you don't get those numbers of hours of sleep, you have an increased risk for accidents, chronic diseases, and cognitive decline. A study at Harvard Health showed that a lack of about 24 hours of sleep can be similar to impaired performance of a blood alcohol level of 0.10%.
Wow. And I know there's been plenty of studies looking at doctors and it literally caused us to shift the way that we did medical training, where we weren't keeping people up for 20, 30 hours and then having them in the hospital. Yes, it used to happen. So
absolutely.
Is there a difference in the amount of sleep that men need versus women? Because I feel like my husband can get away with not sleeping as much, but if I don't get my full, that I feel it throughout the day. Is there a difference?
So all men and women do need about 7 hours of sleep, but some of the differences with women include the hormones such as estrogen and progesterone. Women that are going through perimenopause and menopause have unpredictable shifts in those hormones, and those two hormones often affect your sleep patterns. So if you have a drop in your estrogen level, which typically affects temperature regulations. So if a drop in estrogen lowers and then you have a slight temperature change, that can trigger things such as night sweats, rapid heart rates, jolts of wakefulness in your sleep, and other conditions. So 40 to 60% of perimenopausal women say that they experience difficulty sleeping or sleep disruption in the middle of the night. And that can last anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes per episode.
Wow. And how can someone kind of differentiate between just poor sleep habits and actual sleep disorders like insomnia or sleep apnea? And when should they actually seek medical help because their sleep is so poor?
So if you're fatigued or just haven't been getting sleep day to day, and then you see that once you get rest, you feel normal. But if you're seeing that your partner is telling you you have excessive snoring in your night, or you're gasping for air in your sleep, then you need to seek medical advice to ensure that you're not experiencing sleep apnea.
Hmm. Hmm. And we often hear people say, listen, I can function on 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And back when I was in my 20s, I thought that I was one of those persons, maybe. But what does science actually say about how much sleep adults truly need to stay healthy?
Well, the research has shown is it centers around about 7 hours of sleep and nighttime sleep. So, being awake during the day, keeping your circadian rhythm normal where you're awake during the day and then you're sleeping at night. That leads to a better quality of sleep.
Now, you mentioned some external factors like people scrolling on TikTok or Instagram, you name it, on their phone, or having the TV on that can disrupt their sleep quality. What about some kind of other social things, caffeine, alcohol? Do any of those kind of have an impact on whether or not you have a good night's sleep or whether or not you're actually having 4 or 5 hours of sleep?
They all do. So electronic devices have impact on your sleep. Electronic devices such as phones, tablets, laptops, TVs, they all produce blue light. And blue light reduces melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone that helps you fall asleep. So your brain can be tricked into thinking that you should stay awake with the lack of melatonin. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 7 hours. So if you go get that cup of coffee at 3 p.m. or later, you just may be awake later in the night. Alcohol is another factor that can affect sleep. Even though some think that, having a drink of alcohol can keep them asleep, they may go to sleep faster, but then they may have fragmented sleep. And alcohol also decreases your REM, or what's known as your rapid eye movements. Rapid eye movements is needed in your sleep cycle to help you maintain sleep. It's a part of your sleep cycle, about 20 to 25% of your sleep cycle. And then that accounts for about 90 to 120 minutes of your nighttime sleep. The alcohol can affect your REM in the sense that it will not develop your brain activity during sleep. It will not consolidate your memory or enhance your cognitive function. Some other factors that may affect your sleep include taking long or late naps, eating heavy meals. Heavy meals and then laying down can lead to reflux or indigestion. And so then your body is focused on digestion instead of restful sleep. having those intense conversations at night, reading work emails to keep your mind going, or just other intense activities can help you stop you from sleeping. And your body doesn't instantly go from problem solving mode to sleep peaceful mode. So there are several factors that can also contribute to not sleeping.
So if someone's listening right now who says, okay, yes, my sleep cycle and my sleep schedule is completely off, what are the most effective steps to kind of reset their cycle and get them back on track?
Some of the things can start at home first with, having a peaceful environment to go to sleep, shutting off electronics 30 to 60 minutes before sleep time, having a cool sleeping environment, very little noise, and then setting a schedule, setting a sleep schedule, setting an awake schedule, and trying to keep that consistent. And then eating earlier in the day, keeping stimulants such as caffeine, not drinking those right before sleep time, and then having lighter meals. And just like diet and exercise, maintaining that schedule on a regular basis. And if those things still don't seem to work, you can always visit a sleep center or speak to your healthcare provider.
Well, you heard it there, folks. Thank you, Dr. Coleman, for reminding us that sleep isn't a luxury. It's actually a necessity for our health and well-being. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And still to come, my prescription of the week. Stay tuned.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Rolanda.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Now let's talk about something incredibly common but often overlooked. It's iron deficiency anemia. Iron is an essential element for your body because it helps you make hemoglobin. And that's the part of your red blood cells that carries oxygen. And when your iron levels are low, your body can't deliver oxygen efficiently. And that's when symptoms start to show up. So here's the reality of what that looks like. Iron deficiency is the most common nutritional deficiency in the world. And what you might notice is that you have fatigue, just feeling tired even after you've rested. You're short of breath, especially with activity. There's some dizziness or some lightheadedness, headaches, cold hands and feet, pale skin, and heart palpitations. And sometimes there are more subtle signs like your hair may be thinning or you're craving ice and non-food items. That's something called pica. Or take a peek at your nails. Are they brittle? Are they constantly breaking or even spooning shaped like nails where the nails kind of curve upwards? That's oftentimes associated with iron deficiency anemia. Now, who's most at risk? Well, women. Women of reproductive age, especially with heavy menstrual cycles or periods, you are at risk for iron deficiency anemia. Pregnant women and postpartum women, also. Children and adolescents, also. And people with poor dietary intake or restrictive diets, those who have kind of GI conditions, those can affect the absorption of iron and lead to this deficiency anemia. And here's something important. Iron deficiency anemia isn't always just about diet, but it can also be a sign of blood loss like heavy menstrual cycles, fibroids, or even slow bleeding from the GI tract. And that's why it's important to find the cause, not just treat the number. So how do you fix it? 1, eat iron-rich foods like red meat, leafy greens, beans, lentils, and fortified cereals. 2, make sure you pair it with vitamin C like citrus because that improves the absorption. 3, timing is so important. You must avoid taking iron with calcium, tea, or coffee because that can block the absorption. So don't have it with your morning coffee, right? And if needed, take iron supplements under medical guidance because taking iron incorrectly can cause side effects or just not work effectively. And here's the takeaway. If you're constantly tired, don't just push through it. Don't normalize exhaustion. Your body may be trying to tell you something. Iron deficiency anemia is common, but it's also treatable. And when your iron levels improve, so does your energy, so does your focus, and so does your quality of life. So listen to your body, ask questions, and don't ignore the fatigue that just doesn't make sense. And that, my friends, is my prescription of the week. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week on Second Opinion.